I think I'm live. Howdy doody. How y'all you fine folks there? Yeah, I do believe we are live. Sweet, okay. Yeah, I'm just testing out this new, I'm just testing out a new configuration for my microphone on this particular stream. And just hanging out with you guys. So it's been a long week. I have wrapped up a couple big jobs. I was working on a show for Discovery Channel, which is called Cal Fire. That'll be airing on January 3rd, so make sure you check that out. I did some of the maps for that. So, hi Diesel 10. And I am testing out a system with a mixer, a little tiny mixer here. I'm going to aim the camera down there. A little tiny mixer. My desk is absolutely a mess. You can just tell how just garbage ridden it is. It's insane. Mixer going into the A10 Mini Pro, and then I'm going to on a camera through vMix to broadcast back out to you guys. And the experiment today was basically to see how many frames of latency I had to add, and apparently it is 3 frames of latency for this particular setup. So that is what's going on today, and I'm testing it out, and I figured I might as well just hang out with you guys, have a little Saturday afternoon chat. So see how you guys are all doing. Let me know if the sync is off at all, and we can try to mess with that a little bit. But yeah, so that's wrapped up the show, wrapped up my involvement with the show, so they're going on break, and they may be back in January. We'll see. I don't know. Probably not. But I think they got it from here. And I wrapped up a virtual choir that I did. Hey, sup, David the Gnome. So wrapped up a virtual choir that was 2 songs. One was 24 voices and the other one was 55 voices. So if there's ever a need for proxy workflow, it's when you're dealing with 55 files, 55 video. Even if they're all transcoded to ProRes, which I did, ProRes proxy in a small, tiny file, like, well, 720p file. 55 videos on screen at the same time does add up, and it will kill your computer. So that's why proxy workflow, just make JPEGs, and then animate the JPEGs the way you want them, and then you can do with that. All those hard drives behind me. Yeah, those are all external hard drives from my collection of drives over the years. I mean, I've been in business for in video production for what, 17 years now. So that's like the first 10-15 years worth of stuff, and now everything gets uploaded to cloud and other sorts of backup services. My backup regimen includes a almost relatively daily backup to a Drobo, which is a 8 terabyte Drobo, which is I do a daily like mirror backup. So I work on a RAID 0 drive, but I mirror that daily to a Drobo. So at least it's RAID 0. There's no backup. There's no contingency, but at least you have a Drobo backup of the day's work. So every day that gets put up automatically, and I try to do a backup on top of that to Google Drive. So that is. Oh, am I peaking? Good question. It looks like I am peaking. I'm doing something over here. Let me turn myself down a little bit here. How's that, guys? Yeah, so since we are trying something different with the audio, I wanted to make sure that audio is cleaner this time, because I'm recording a funeral on Monday. Nobody that I know personally, but I'm going to be utilizing a lot of the stuff to stream it because of our situation here in California. We have to stream this stuff, so I want to make sure that everything's working. So yes, please tell me if the audio is off, if it's cracking. Yeah, I think I just had it too high. I'm gonna keep I'm gonna keep myself in the green down here, and I probably should monitor over here on vMix here. I can't have headphones on because there's a delay, and if I have a delay in listening to it on headphones, it will drive you pretty much bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. So yeah, that is what's going on. So yeah, my backup regimen every day, it gets uploaded to Google Drive Cloud, and then I have these hard drives as kind of long-term storage. But between that, I clean out the daily backups. Once I finish a project, I'll clean it out, I'll delete it, and maybe store it over here. But I'll leave it on Drive, so at least I always have a backup on the web, on the cloud. And I've got I still have this G Suite, Google's G Suite system for Filmmaker IQ. And if you have a certain number of people in your, or a certain number of counts in the organization, you get unlimited storage. So I've got 60 terabytes up there right now. That's just little old me, but I mean, that's not that much, obviously, in the grand scope of things, but it is a lot for one person. So anyhow, that is what's going on with the hard drives. Yeah, I mean, if you prefer hard drives to the cloud, sure. I like the cloud because I can access it anywhere. And what's really cool for a client, one of the clients is a city of Lake Elsinore. I do a lot of work for them. But they'll have me go out and shoot, like an event. They'll have me go out and shoot a ribbon cutting or a street just got repaved. So go out there and shoot it with a drone and record some footage of it. And you may not need it right away. So, but all that gets put up to the cloud, and then in case anybody, they say, hey, the planning commission wants the latest shot of the drone. Oh yeah, I just go on Google Drive, oh, here it is, link it, and boom, it's off. I don't need to render it, I don't need to touch it. That's what's really cool about putting stuff on the cloud. So, anyhow, David Noam asks, what's the weirdest thing to film anyone's approached you about? What's the weirdest thing someone has approached me to film? I don't really, I'm trying to think of weird. I don't think there's anything too weird out there I've done. I mean, I do mostly corporate and mostly like event stuff and then some commercial stuff, I'm trying to think of something that's really, really weird. I did a stint with Google when YouTube did this thing where they were trying to push local advertising, and they offered a ridiculously low rate for people just to go out there and shoot like a cookie cutter commercial. They would run to be run on YouTube for Google ads, for local ads, and it was ridiculously cheap. It was like $150 to go out there and shoot a 30-second commercial. But I mean, they wanted you to be really cookie cutter with it. Like, really, don't spend much time on this because you're making $150. Like, don't put effort into it. Just go out there, shoot it real quick, slap it together, and put it back out there. It's like some weird. I shot a couple commercials for like a YouTube channel, doing a business on a YouTube channel. It's kind of a weird commercial because I guess for them it was like, for them they would spend like $300 on they would be charged $300 for advertising, and they would get the commercial for free. So something like that. But yeah, that's probably the weirdest thing. I mean, I was asked to work on a pole dancing documentary, and that sounds like it's really weird and bizarre, but it's not really. Pole dancing is almost like an Olympic sport, so I mean, it sounds weirder than it is, I guess. Background, maybe someone dying in a hospital. No, I have not been asked to shoot that. I don't think I probably would want to. Ross says, just wanted to say your video on anamorphic lenses convinced me to use them recently. Keep up the great work. Thank you. I'm interested in anamorphic. I keep thinking about it. Like I watched, we'll get into it, but I was going to watch, I watched Expanse. I believe it was Expanse. And I was noticing some shots had the anamorphic, bokeh circles, or how do they say it in Japanese? I looked this up how to say it in Japanese. Bokeh, that's it. I think that's the proper Japanese pronunciation. Bokeh. These oval bokeh shapes, and then but some shots had round bokeh. So I think maybe they're mixing the two kinds of shots with it. So we'll get it. We'll talk about the Expanse in a sec here. But yeah. So yeah, anamorphics are interesting. That make you think about how the focus works. How the idea that the focus wraps around your subject. It's fascinating to think about. So, let's see. Mir Chamo, asks, why does no one talk about production design on YouTube? I think because production design is it's hard to talk about if you don't have access to the actual set. If you don't have there's so many things that are hard to talk about on YouTube because either it's all very repetitive, at least to somebody that's if you're kind of familiar with it, it feels like you're just repeating yourself. Oh, we did this set design, And we did it again in this thing, and we did it again here, and we did it. So it feels repetitive when you go over and over and over again. The other part is it's hard if you don't have the actual access to the set, you don't have access to the actual decision making process, then it's hard to talk about, because you're basically just saying, well, that's great, you're pointing stuff out, and maybe there's value in that. I don't know. Maybe there's value in just like saying, hey, that set is really cool. Notice how they did this and how they put things here and this there and whatever not. And I don't know. The set was Ross says the set was a bar with a lot of character that I didn't want to be in a perfect focus. With Anamorphic, it looked awesome. Yeah. Anamorphic is a very interesting thing. My problem with Anamorphic, though, for at least I gotta probably find better Anamorphic glass, because I think the glass I used was a 16 millimeter. It was designed for 16 millimeter film, so it's maximum aperture. I mean, I had to put a 200 millimeter lens on it in order to get any bokeh that looked that you could actually see, right? And so here it is. Yeah, it's a 16 millimeter lens. 60 millimeter film projector lens. So if I had a larger one, maybe I could get bigger circles and bigger bokeh. So anyhow, Abelay, has any client ever failed you in mid project? Yes. Oh yeah. I've had like clients just like, we're interested in stuff. You see all kinds of things, right? You see like, have a meeting with a client, and they're like, we got a great idea for this thing. And you spend like an hour, get excited about it, and they're like, well, but we can't pay you until the lawsuit is settled. And then when the lawsuit is settled, we'll get the money to be able to pay you, and that's when we'll do the project. I'm like, all right, we'll just we'll erase that off the calendar. I've had clients that have like completely gone nuts, and like you film stuff for them, and they're like, well, I don't like what you shot. I'm like, well, you were there, and we shot what you told me to shoot. It's like, so stuff like that happens. I've had a funeral. Funerals are weird things to shoot. I've had like a memorial service where like we wanted you to shoot a bunch of other stuff, but you didn't tell people to shoot. They wanted me to shoot a bunch of other people like saying comments, but then when I was there, they didn't announce that they wanted people to come and say comments. So it was like, you didn't tell everybody that that's what you wanted. So all kinds of weird stuff. So yeah, I mean, I've had clients bail on me on stuff halfway through. It happens when you're in a long, when it happens when you spend a few years in the process. All right, let's talk. Okay, Tom Cruise. I forgot about the Tom Cruise thing. So yeah, Tom Cruise had this little meltdown on set, which I guess from what I hear, if you've been around Tom Cruise, it's kind of typical. When you're a big movie star, I imagine these things sort of happen, that people have this meltdown. Now, on the other hand, like, remove the celebrity aspect of it, right? Removing the celebrity aspect of it, I get where Tom Cruise is coming from on this. I really do, because the fact is that regardless of what you feel about the pandemic and how whatever value you put on it, or as far as how deadly it is, the fact is that we do have a world where you have to be sensitive to what others perceive you as. And if they perceive your movie production as being dangerous, then they're going to shut you down. And Tom Cruise in that movie has already been through hell already, as far as like getting shut down already before, during the pandemic when it first opened in Italy when they were shooting there. So I can see him like being really, really rigorous about like, hey, you have to follow the rules. These are the rules they gave us in order for us to keep working. And there are a lot of people that aren't working because they, for some reason, can't follow the rules. Like restaurants right now in California have been closed for outdoor dining. Regardless of how you feel about whether our outdoor dining is safe or not. And I'm kind of lying more. Well, this being so cold, it's like, what's the point? Outdoor dining, if you don't catch coronavirus, you're going to catch pneumonia. So it's outdoor dining here is pretty bad. But anyhow, still you are given rules in order to open. So if you want to stay open, you have to maintain those rules. So I can see why he'd be pretty pissed off if people are not following the rules. However, I don't, there's more to this, more to the story. So that's what I'm thinking about that. That's my thoughts on it. Right now, like as far as like productions, like for me, I can't in good conscience even try to mount a production right now. Unless I get like a bunch of people that all agree, hey, we're all going to like hang out together. We're all going to be really super safe, but most people are not going to be wanting to work on that. So productions have to be kind of just remote, or we're all working, independently and all that stuff. So yeah, that's what I'm feeling about Tom Cruise. But he is a famous movie star, and he's prone to these temper tantrums. So there's that aspect of it as well. And I've also heard the story, like they actually rented a cruise ship, because the cruise ships aren't doing anything. So they rented a cruise ship to house the crew to live in. So they have to do all these crazy, these over the top things in order to try to at least appear safe. So they've got to do the best to maintain that appearance. So I can kind of see that. Okay, I'm going to back up here. Sam Jameson, John, can you please tell us about your editing process for Choir? Oh boy, yes, let's talk about the Choir, because that's the virtual Choir. That's fun. I got the files last Sunday and I turned it around today, and it was pretty like intensive as far as what we had to do, or what I had to do. So the files are sent to me as phone files, and when you're getting files from a phone, you have no clue what you're getting. You can get like MOVs, MP4s, but there are all kinds of crazy codecs. Frame rates are generally in the variable frame rate. Now I'm not going to be a stickler and say like it must be 24 frames a second. I'm not, whatever. You're sending me stuff 30 frames, 24. I get 29.694 frame rate. Because Premiere doesn't know. First thing I do is if Premiere can even open the file, I put everything on a timeline and I sync it up to I do a rough sync to the accompanying track. Lay down the accompanying track. And the way the process is, you're supposed to be, when you record these as a choir singer, you're supposed to have your phone, and then every phone, and have either another device or a computer playing the sound, the accompanying track, to your headphones, and you're singing along, and you follow along. Record that file, right? I get the file, I take the accompanying track, I lay down all the voices, and I try to get them as close as possible synced up. Obviously there's going to be issues, but we're not going to deal with them right. So I get them all synced up. Now some files just won't open. In that case, I'll throw them into Handbrake, which is a free program, and convert it to an MP4 and then bring it into Premiere. So once I do all that, then I take that project and bring it into Audition. And Audition is where I do the fine-tuning work for the audio. So I start with the audio first, because everything's audio first. It's a choir. It's music. You have to start with the audio. Audio is the most important thing. Audio is way more important than the visuals. I mean, you can have crappy visuals as long as it sounds good, right? In this case, so audio is more important. Anyhow, so in Audition, I have the accompanying track, and I have every single audio track, and then I run them. I kind of organize them into different parts. If it's soprano, alto, tenor, bass, I'll break them out, and then I'll set those to a bus track, and then the bus track I'll apply some effects, some reverb, and some de-esser, and then individually, I don't want to say it, but I'll share it. Individually, I do add a very quick auto tune on each track just to get it into the right direction. And I know people probably upset, like, oh, how can you auto tune this stuff? It helps. If anything you can do to help the performers. Because the reality is, if you're singing a virtual choir, you don't have everyone else's voice. You can't tune to everyone else. So if you can just, if you're off by like 3 cents flat, 3 cents sharp, I bring you back into the fold. And then when it all comes back together again, it's a much cleaner sounding product. So yeah, a little bit of auto tuning on every single track. And then the fun begins, because when you're when you're singing without your choir mates out there, you have no idea how long your notes are. And I'm dealing with students, so they're not like professional musicians who are like metronome accurate perfect, right? So a lot of sibilants, if you're talking about like the winter time, the t part, or the silent night, those t's and t's need to be lined up, and that is excruciating. That is excruciatingly hard, because you're like sitting there, and you're like, who is that one person that came in early? Who is that one person that came in early? And you have to like fudge everything, and so I'm cutting the tracks, and I'm trying to like gauge them up so that they kind of line up. And you can have a little bit of variability, because that sounds human. But if you can't have silent night, holy night, you can't have that. So you have to try out either kind of put them all together, or start deleting the sibilants of sounds. So anyhow, once all that's done, I create a master mix down, take that back into Premiere, and now I'm dealing with the video files. I take the entire project, I send it to After Effects, and then I re-render every single shot as a QuickTime ProRes proxy file, and I render it as 720p. I've rendered it even smaller, because I know I'm not going to be using each file in the full resolution. I'm going to use it pretty small, and the smaller file is the better, especially when you're dealing with like 55 files that need to be on the screen at the same time. One thing I learned on the Discovery project is that for After Effects, it doesn't matter so much about resolution, it's the size of the file and how complicated it is for the computer to open that file. If you got a small file, it opens up really quickly, regardless of what resolution your composition is. So my goal is to try to err on smaller files. So I'm taking everything in After Effects, and then everything's laid out and matched to the exact same length of that master mix down. And I just render every single file as a ProRes file, and then I bring that back in, and then I make compositions of every single one of those files, and then I make a proxy of all those files, and a still proxy, because I don't really care necessarily about what they're doing, because they're just looking at the camera and singing, right? I just want a still proxy, and then with that still proxy I can create like an animation. So I'll have for this one I did like snowflakes. I did the snowflakes kind of drifting down, and I had the picture of the kid on the snowflake as it was drifting down, or I had a snowflake with like 6 different kids on it, that kind of thing, and I kind of used the camera to fly in through a couple of them, stuff like that. And then that's how I build up the entire project. And then, I turned it around in a week, which while I was working on the Discovery project too, so I was working double shift. I was working here on Discovery till like 6 o'clock at night, and then I'd go home and work on the choir thing till like midnight, and then pass out, and then do the whole thing every day. So I'm tired. I'm a little tired. And I've been totally ignoring you guys' questions. So, yeah, Sam Jemison, auto-tune and those timing issues. Yes, well done. Thank you so much for all the detailed explanation. May I know, ask, how would one contact you in regards to ensemble editing? You just have to send me an email. You can go on filmmakeriq.com. You guys, look, probably can all figure out my email address. It's john@filmmakeriq.com. Duh. I mean, that's a really creative one, right? So if you just send me an email and we can talk about it. It's a passion project, it really is. When you do a project like that, you got to do it for the kids, right? I mean, you got kind of a soft spot for me, So yeah, it's a project. It's definitely a project. And I also did last week. I just went out and recorded a string quintet, and we were all just relatively socially distanced. We wore our masks, and I was actually about 10 feet apart. I just set my mics and recorded them, and that was that. And it was great. Anyhow, Anthony, I seem like a good guy. Keep up the good. I hope I am. I'm trying to be. I really am. But it's tough. It's tough to be a good guy. Sometimes you want to put on the black hat and just be a bad guy. A. Umer asks, what camera do you suggest for under $3,000 for filmmaking? Good question. I'm glad you put a price tag on it. $3,000 is actually a pretty good price pretty good amount of money to spend on a camera. And it also depends on what exactly you're trying to shoot. So if you're trying to shoot events, you might not want to go with like a Blackmagic pocket camera. That's not necessarily a good combination. If you want to shoot a short film, a pocket camera could be a possibility. Let's see, what else? Sony, I believe Sony lines, I think G5 or something like that. I think it's probably over that budget. But I think, if you're keeping it under $3,000, Canon C100 I think is a good combination too. Blackmagic pocket camera, Canon C100. I'm not sure what the Panasonic's offering on that. I'm not a big fan of the DSLR style and mirrorless style bodies. I just don't like them. But there's a lot of possibilities in those cameras too, like the Panasonic GH5, I believe it's called, the full frame one. That's pretty good. So $3,000, you've got a lot of room, and don't forget if you want to include a lens in that price too. So you've got quite a bit of a wiggle room and available options there. I see my frame rate hasn't dropped. That's good. I think the newer firmware for this program is for this ATEM Mini. I'm using the Mini Pro right now, testing that out, so it's working pretty good. Okay, Red Lightning. Hello, just wanted to thank you for doing it. Oh, thank you, amazing teacher. Thank you very much, Red Lightning Pictures. Lucas Cass, can you speak on experience with performance rights, organization, license samples for your projects? If so, how do you approach it? Wonderful, terrific question. So I can probably say this. No one's probably going to get me in trouble for saying this. But I did it for the same choir. I did a Beatles song at the end of the year, the end of the school year, back in May, June, right? And there were so many issues with the clearance on the rights of that Beatles song. Oh my goodness! Like you could say, the name of the song, but you couldn't say who wrote it. And then it could only be online for it couldn't be on YouTube, but it could be on Facebook, but could only be on for 30 days, and then you had to yank it. And holy moly, it was such a pain in the butt with that. As far as this particular go around, we are using music from a person called Pink Zebra, who, if you've been on Envato, and you get if you go on Envato and buy royalty-free music, you'll see Pink Zebra a lot. So he puts out a lot of royalty-free stuff. So this is a much more simpler licensing issue deal with this one, and I think the teacher really appreciates that. So yeah, as far as performing rights, as far as other stuff, I deal with mostly royalty-free music, and I just go get stuff in the royalty-free. I have memberships to 4 or 5 royalty-free sites, because I can't stomach the idea of only having one choice. I have too many choices. Jake Libin Pezak asks, when shooting celluloid, do you prefer 16 or 35 millimeter? I don't really shoot motion celluloid, although if you're talking about pictures, man, 4x5 film, baby. 4x5 film, man. 35 millimeter feels kind of small compared to the 4x5 film. And 4x5, you're this is a whole new world. A whole new world. That's where you'll be when you shoot with film at 4x5. That's terrible. Don't ever do that again, John. I just saw the concurrent viewers just drop by 50%. Just plummeted down to earth like so much hot cheese. I don't know why I said that. Oh gosh. Nick Manny says, I have a Tokina 11 to 16 2.8 and a Mir 1B 35 2.8, Helios 58 2.0, and the cameras are 1855 kit lens. Should I buy next? What should I buy next? 17 to 50, an 85, a 24, or something else. Crop sensor Canon. You've got the Coconut 11 to 16. That covers really the wide range. You've got your 35, you got your 58, you got your Canon's kit lens is a 1855. I would say you might want to consider another zoom. It's a possibility. I really like the Tamron. There's a 2.8 out there that's a 24 to 70. You can get somewhere in that range. It's a really decent lens. I really like it. And it's a very affordable lens, which I'm a big fan of affordability, because I'm more about affordability, man, than anything else. So I think that may be a good option. It also depends on what you want to do. 85 would be nice, or if you get the 70 to 200, if you want to shoot photos too, that's really more of a popular photo lens. So that's some suggestions, Nick, for you. Gumby Rant. Random rant: when setting up a 24-foot crane, the client comes up and says, "Can't you do that with a drone? Can't we get a drone today?" Ever have a client pull this kind of crap? I don't get too... Well, yes, actually, recently I had... she's probably not watching, so it's okay. City wanted to do a Christmas lighting up situation where they're going to light the city up light up the whole city at 6 o'clock p.m. Christmas lights. Everyone turn your Christmas lights at 6 o'clock on the Mose. We want to see everyone's lights come on. So she's like, well, can we do that with a drone? And I thought, okay, so you have to get a drone pretty high to see the entire city. This is like 100 square mile city. It's probably higher than you're legally allowed to fly on a drone. And then, in order to get a drone, I'd have to be streaming from the drone, and then I had to go through my stream, because they wanted not only the drone footage, but they also wanted live on the ground footage to be cutting. So they had to do like a live switching kind of situation. So I have a drone license, although technically I'm not a 107 approved for nighttime flying. So I would have had to get a clearance for that, or do it without telling anybody. But then I couldn't operate the switcher, so that was the issue. And then the fact is, you can't really get that high to see Christmas lights. If you're that high, it's not that dramatic to see Christmas lights, because there's already street lights out there. So you're just going to see a couple more lights turn on. So, yeah. The thing people don't realize, I really hated that one when what's it called, DJI came out with that video of the wedding that they shot with a drone in the church. Are you effing insane? You're gonna fly a drone in a church for a wedding? Are you out of your mind? A lot of kids, and this has happened back in the MySpace days when we were hanging out on MySpace film forums. They get this impression that these tools are, a drone is not a magic tool that you can just fly in a church. The noise in itself would be terrible. Then the backwash from the rotors would be insane. So stuff like that, or steady cams. Back in the day, this one guy had, back in MySpace, we were discussing how to shoot. This guy was so arrogant. I want to have the best. I can only shoot my project on the new Red 1 camera, because Red 1 just came out. But I want to have at least 10 cameras going at the same time. 3 of them on steady cams. 2 of them, it's 2 of them on sticks. But we're going to capture it with 11 cameras. And you're like, you've got to be fucking insane to think that. So anyhow, yes. You don't... drones are not the solution to all your problems. Although drones are wonderful. And they're so, for when I do work for the city, to me, a lot of stuff like city work, if I want to show a new construction of city, fly from the drone, because you get to see the project. A new city park, fly it with a drone. You get to see the park. It's amazing. It's amazing technology. But man, you need to learn how to use it. It's not magic. All right, let's get back to your comments. Tio, Manny's World, welcome to Tucson. Welcome. Hope you guys staying safe out there in Tucson. Power Mad, I didn't know a drone license was a thing. Actually, it is in order to operate a drone commercially, for commercial purposes, that includes for photography, you should have a 107A clearance from the FAA, and that all it is you go down to your local airport or FAA testing facility, and you take a test, and if you score higher than 80%, you get a license for 2 years. And I did that, and I got 85%. So a couple I should have. Some of those questions are pretty tricky, man. Certain about technicals about certain map readings that kind of threw me off. And then frankly, I'm I used to be I'm Asian, right? So anything lower than 95% is a failure for Asians. And I was a straight A student through college, man. I got a 4.0 in college. Of course, I was a business major, so that doesn't really mean much. But yeah, 85%. I'm like, oh man, I should have. I'm just not good at studying right now. I have so much stuff to do, and I don't. My brain is not in the study for test mode. I just So, but I gotta get renewed probably next year. So I'm about to go back and do my reading. Although I'm a big flight sim advocate of player now. So, hey, it's a little bit of both now, right? All right, let's see. Am I getting overload on my mic? I'm yelling at my mic some more. So I can turn it down a little more, guys. Thanks. Yeah, just let me know. I am. If you came in late, I am trying something different with my microphone. I think I'm talking louder. That's probably the problem. I'm now in my drunk state mode. I haven't drunken anything. I haven't drank anything. But I am my loud talking mode. I am highly contagious if I had COVID, which I don't. I don't think I have COVID. I probably have a little bit of a sneeze right now. I have a little bit of tickle in my nose. It's not the COVID, but I'm a little bit contagious. If I had the COVID, I'd be very, very, very contagious because I'm talking loudly and being very loud. Vizzo says, "How's my mom?" My mom's not doing so well. She was supposed to have surgery, but the COVID thing killed the surgery twice. In fact, I was at the hospital waiting for surgery, like in the hallway, and they came out and said, "Hey, COVID patients are eating up the entire floor space, so you got to go home." And they turned my mom away from the surgery, and then they also turned another guy who's in there for heart surgery. So he's like, "You can't have your heart surgery because everyone's here with COVID." I think it's also compounded by the fact that because you can't fit a lot of people in a room with COVID, you can't have like more than one person per room. That also kills the amount of space that you couldn't, like you could fit 3 people in a hospital room if they had regular stuff, but you can't fit more than like one person. Anyhow. So Brad Fogel says, "Filmmaker, want to go over your test setup, cam, microphone, might go into camera." My microphone's going into this little mixer, and I'm going the mixer into the Atom Mini Pro and through the mic output. And the reason I was testing it was I wanted to make sure that I had the frame delay, because I just found out you can put a delay on your ATEM Mini Pro. So because that's the big issue was you'd get a big delay between, or the audio be out of sync from the mixer if you go into the mic, because the HDMI cameras are never accurate or fast. There's always a little latency. So by being able to apply latency on the Mini Pro, or even I think the Mini has that capability too. It's a real game changer, I think. Because I was looking into like, how do you do audio delay? And I actually bought an audio delay box. It's floating somewhere in my insane mess of an office. Somewhere is a analog audio delay box somewhere, right? But it is absolutely. But if I could do it on the switcher itself, then it is way easier. So yeah. Sorry, situation with my mom. Hope she's going through a similar situation too. Yeah, it's tough too because my mom is. I mean, she hasn't been medically. I think she has been medically diagnosed, but she has dementia, so she doesn't know like what day it is, and she doesn't even know if I have to tell her, "Hey, you're getting surgery today." "Oh, okay, all right, let's go." So it's tough. All right, well, we've been around the bush. Let's get to let's talk about the 2 big media things that are out there. Let's first talk about the Mandalorian. Mandalorian wrapped up last night. Mandalorian wrapped up last night, and we had everyone's considering a very, very good finale. And I gotta say, I enjoyed the finale. There's one nibbling thing that's bothering me about the Mandalorian, and I will spend the next few minutes discussing this, because it's starting to get on my nerves a little bit. Is that the Mandalorian has a lot of useless action or unnecessary action, and I realize it is a Star Wars movie. It is a war film. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of running around and shooting at basically faceless targets, and That's the thing. But the last episode had one thing that bothered me was when Mando, and let's face it, this is spoil. We're getting to spoilers. If you haven't seen it, watch now. Turn it off. You can come back and watch this later. But Amanda who? But anyhow, so the Mandalorian goes into this bar and meets with the Starbuck, right? Katie Sackhoff. And then Boba Fett and Katie Sackhoff's character, like buddy, get into a fight, and then there's like a 90-second like fisticuffs where they're just fighting each other. And I thought this was completely unnecessary. Like they could have just had some words, glared at each other, but no, they had to like you had to do like a whole stunt involved. They had to get beat each other up, and in the end, they're on the same team. And it's the very beginning of the episode, there's not going to be an issue here. They're just fighting because they paid the fight. Hey, that fight choreographer, that guy's working for like $125 an hour. We already have him for the day, so we might as well use him. Let's throw this little fight scene in there. And I realized, okay, Mandalorian is sort of this old-fashioned cowboy TV show where we talked about nudity a few weeks ago. Like, nudity sometimes added to stuff just to make it have a higher production value. Fight scenes are added to stuff to make them have a little more production value, right? So I get that. Okay. But it's like, come on. I don't need that fight. I didn't really need that fight. Ugh. So that was like, I kind of rolled my eyes on that. But the rest of the episode I thought was pretty... Again, like, when you get toward the end where they just kind of run down the hallway and they're just like shooting stormtroopers in the back, and you're like, man, I don't know if I could like, I don't know personally, if I was because I think about this, if I was in a war and I just came upon somebody that's just they're like obviously guarding something, but would you like walk up to a soldier and shoot him in the back? I mean, I guess you would have to, because it's war. It's war. You're going to do something, you got to shoot. But it just, I don't know. I'm not, maybe I'm too much of a peacenik to think about that. Like, it bothers me a little bit. But it is Star Wars. Okay, I get it. Okay, enough complaining. But, okay, now let's get to the end of the episode. Grogu, which we now know is the name of the child, obviously. Like the whole setup for the Dark Stormtroopers trying to enter into that that bridge. A couple things. First of all, it did feel a little bit like a forced drama, right? Like, we all know that they're going to be defeated. Now, the other thing, I'm beating around the bush. Mando, at that point, they're on the bridge. They got Moff Gideon in chains, and they've got they're just waiting for the Dark Troopers to come in. But Mando has the Darksaber. And the Darksaber was supposed to be able to cut through Beskar steel. Couldn't you just take the Darksaber and just like slash and hack through those Dark Troopers? Because that's what the Jedi, that's what Luke does when he comes in, right? So that to me, like, a little contrived. A little kind of contrived way of getting there. And then the arrival of Luke Skywalker, and I like, come on, like, was that a surprise to anybody? Like, holy shit, it's Luke Skywalker. I'm like, I mean, yeah, eventually he had to make an appearance. And who else was going to be there? Because this is after Return of the Jedi. There's no other Jedi around, and Grogu's like calling to another Jedi, and he obviously gets somebody. So it's got to be Luke, right? I mean, I liked it. oh, it's Luke Skywalker, cool. But it's like, it wasn't a surprise. But anyhow, the point I'm getting to is like, all that stuff to me was just, so. What got me was when the Grogu and the Mandalorian, like, their final moment. Because that was genuinely not only earned, well done, it was powerful. Like, to me, it felt like, and then Pedro Pascal finally making an appearance, twice in this season. Wow. Takes off his helmet, and he sees this little darling baby, and the cooing is what gets me. It's like, that stuff is, that little moment was like everything else I forgot about. That moment was what made that episode so special. was between the basically, and it was a story of letting go. It's like, you know, it's I guess it's someone like Jon Favreau, who's I think his kid is probably around the age where he's probably thinking about college, maybe. Yeah, probably that time. Because I think he had a kid when he was making Elf, and that was like, you know, 15 years ago. So now it's like, you know, you have to let your kid go to be with the Jedi, to do what he's supposed to be, what he's supposed to be. And this Mandalorian character, who's obviously in love with his son, essentially adopted son, that was gold. That was really, really well done. Anyhow, wow, I've completely gone onto that. So yeah, I'm sorry if I spoiled it for you. Hey, you know what's coming. I mean, sometimes spoilers are not as bad as you think they are. If you know what's coming, you can kind of appreciate it some more. Luke has entered the chat. Mian Wang says, "How you doing, Mian Wang? Good to see you here." Oh, Bad Karma says, no, the Darksaber was not able to cut through the steel. That's what the lady said. I don't know. I kind of disagree with that, because you could see like it was hitting the Beskar steel of the Mandalorian, but it started to melt it. So I think it's ready to burn through some of that. And these Dark Troopers weren't made of Beskar steel. Like a regular lightsaber just sliced right through them. Luke just sliced right through them. You did spell it right, Mian Wang. Beskar steel is spelled that way, yeah. No, I think it can. I think that's what the point was. I'm pretty sure it can. Well, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm not the first time to be wrong about them like that. Sheriff says, I did feel a bit like the Stormtrooper massacre at points. The final moment with Grogu had me totally choked up. Yeah, it's totally. Yeah, that's. I kept thinking like all the Stormtroopers that died, you know. They just signed up for this thing. They weren't all part of the revolution or the. I don't know. Star Wars in a way, because when I was watching this episode, I kept thinking to myself, okay, now that Bo-Katan or whatever her name is, Starbuck, has gotten control of this light cruiser, what do they do with all the bodies? Like, like there's a lot of bodies. There's got to be at least like a couple hundred like dead bodies. They just like pile them all up on a part in the end, just to burn them or something like that, or put them in the cargo bay and space them all. I mean, they could. So, yeah, that kind of got me thinking about that. Like, you know, I don't know, maybe, and I guess I realize this is Star Wars. This is a cowboy movie. You know, it's not reality. Stop thinking about reality. It's not reality, John. Stop it. So that brings it to another show that's a little bit more reality based, to an extent, in The Expanse. If you have not watched The Expanse, I think we're on season 5 now. The Expanse is frankly awesome. It is essentially Game of Thrones for space, in space. Mando, spoilers over now. We're talking about The Expanse. We're going to spoil some Expanse for people. If you haven't watched Expanse, it's on Amazon Prime. It was on Sci-Fi. They did three seasons on Sci-Fi. Then Amazon picked it up, and is based on a book by James S.A. Greary or something like that. But it's not that name is not really author. It is actually a team of writers, 2 writers. And one of them actually was the assistant for George R.R. Martin, Game of Thrones. And he showed, this guy who's assisting George R.R. Martin showed the manuscript to George R.R. Martin, and Martin loved it. He's like, this is fantastic. And so he kind of championed it. And it's become like a series of like eight books, I think 9 books maybe, and a couple other side books. I have not read them. I have listened to them on audio because I cannot read very well. So I've listened to them all on my audiobooks. So I do know what's coming up on The Expanse. I have insider knowledge. So all worship in my glow for having the insider knowledge for The Expanse. But they just released their newest season, the first 3 episodes of the newest season, and I believe they're going to do it week by week after that. The Expanse is... I thought, honestly, I thought the last season of Expanse was a little dull. A little bit dull. And if we reflect the books, in the books, it's a little bit of a departure from the regular kind of the crazy Expanse stuff. because they go onto this planet, and it becomes, and when I was listening to the book and I watched it finally, it becomes kind of like a Western in the books. It becomes, they go to this frontier town, and it's like they're dealing with a frontier and alien existence on the frontier. But you're missing all the politics and the intrigue that happens back on the inner planets. That to me is what made The Expanse so much fun, was the political infighting. But when I watched this first episode of this new season, man, like right away, hooked immediately. It's like they did not waste a second with this new season. So the first 3 episodes, I've gotten only the first 2. My friend Joe watched the third. But I finished the first 2. I'm going to go watch the third one tonight. But it gets you quick. So it's exciting. And this is not, I guess, not a spoiler if you haven't watched the season. It is a spoiler, but they set it up that the asteroids are heading toward Earth. That Marco Inaros has set some asteroids on course on a collision for Earth, and that is really what happens in the books too. So that is the conceit of what's going on here, and it is some exciting stuff. So if you haven't watched Expanse, if you haven't watched it, I'd say go ahead. You can. If you started now, you'd be you could follow it, but you'd be kind of lost. I would say go back and watch it from the beginning. It's well worth it. Well worth it. So anyhow, that's the 2 properties I've been watching lately. The 2 big ones. So talking more about Mando. Did you know Mando's name is actually Din? I read that in an article that I was recapping. I didn't know his name was Din. I didn't know we're going to call Baby Yoda until the end of the time. We're not going to call him Grogu. I mean, there might be some people in the future that are like really highly like sophisticated nerds. Like, oh, you mean Grogu? Yes, only the simpletons refer to him as Baby Yoda. Those in the know call him Grogu. Right, exactly. All right. Oh, Strange Sounds, hooked on YouTube live streams. I'm kind of in there with you. I enjoy YouTube Live has replaced television for me very much so. I find myself harder and harder to watch like live television because I don't like the commercials, and then the live television they don't spend enough time talking about anything. They don't get like you feel like everything's too rushed in live television. How long have we been on here? I don't know. Oh, 52 minutes. We're coming up on the end here. Yeah, so any questions? If you have throw so many questions at me, if you want to hang out and just chat for a little bit here, we'll go in a few minutes here. But I will be planning on, I gotta go home and make some dinner. I've not eaten lunch yet, and I've been doing this bad habit of not eating lunch. How is winter in LA? Juho asks. I'm not quite in LA. I'm a little bit outside of LA, but it's getting kind of cold. Yeah, my house. I don't know. My house's heater is not working. We thought about buying a new one, but it's like we got the price quote, and it's like, ooh, that's kind of pricey. And then it's California, so you're like, man, do I want to spend this much money for a heater that I'm only going to use like maybe 2 months of the year? You know, because the rest of the year you're not going to use a heater at all. And is it that cold? I mean, it's kind of cold. So one of the things I did do is I did a very adult thing. I bought myself some long underwear. And I'm wearing long underwear right now. I know, TMI, right? Too much information, John. Tell me about your underwear. Yes, I'm wearing long underwear as well as regular underwear. And actually, I do find it helps sitting in a drafty room. My office, though, I'm in my office right now, so I do have a heat. I do have heat in here, but my house does not have heater. And my mom doesn't really care for the heater anyway, so I don't know if I don't know. So anyhow, so yeah, that's what's going on. So next week is pretty much everyone's kind of gone off, and I'm probably not. I mean, I'm going to do some things. I'm going to do some work next week, but I may try to get a video out. I don't want to put a video out during Christmas because it's like no one's going to watch it because it's Christmas. Maybe I'll save it for after Christmas. But I got an idea for a short, just one thing that I want to do with as far as lighting that I think will be useful and maybe put a little more views in my view bucket. I don't know. I sometimes catch myself getting a little too obsessed with view count and like putting out videos and like, well, why didn't that video get any views? It's like, well, on one hand, YouTube kind of tells you, YouTube's in a sly way does try to tell you like if your video doesn't do a lot of views, it's like, oh bummer, your video's not getting much views. So they kind of put it right, shove it in your face, like your view count. So I guess maybe there's a little bit of that. But I don't know. View count shouldn't, in a perfect world, view count shouldn't matter at all. We should just put stuff out. We should create stuff and put stuff out there. But view count. I don't know. I can get petty like that. I guess I'm a little petty like that. Hey, view count equates to dollars in AdSense revenue, and it'd be nice to be able to put some more time into this and not have to do some other projects, for cold hard cash. Although this year was okay for me, I did okay this year, but we're gonna hopefully put out some more content next year. That's the one thing I want to do too. My office is a complete and utter mess. You can probably I won't even pan my desk right now because it's so embarrassingly disgusting. It's so bad. It's so bad. But I want to clean all this place out, and I do have an intention to rebuild my studio set. Make it a little bit smaller, more compact, so I have just a little bit more cleanliness, and then I can build some more storage areas around it and utilize the space better. Because right now my office, my studio, and my office, which I rent, is just a disaster zone. FEMA has come by and has rated it, has given me notification that I will be eligible for federal dollars because of how just horribly disgusting this place is. I'm just kidding. Obviously, I told that joke on Facebook and people were like, really? What happened? Is FEMA really coming out? I'm like, no, I'm just joking. I'm just saying my office is awful, in a horrible state. That's all I'm trying to say. So, yeah, Ross says it can be tough on YouTube. It's a hamster wheel. And can you imagine like the guys that do daily content, the stuff that put out every single day? And I thought about like, whoa, would I ever want to be doing the daily stuff? And I did daily content for Filmmaker IQ for a long time. I put out articles. I would find articles, and I don't enjoy that at all. I sort of hate it, honestly. Like, I was a single person, like one person putting out like 5 articles a day. But articles in that, I would find content and I would write a little blurb about it. And what did it get me? Nothing. I mean, the website hardly does any business. Again, here I'm focused on views, but like it's just costing a lot of money and it's not being utilized a whole lot. And then what happens every year is like people take the stuff down. So like all that database of all the content you have curated over all these years is useless because all the links are broken and all that crap. So, the hamster wheel, it's not worth it. It's just not worth it. I don't know what happens in the future. I get for a big company that has multiple employees and everyone's kind of doing a small task. It makes sense that you can do a publishing, you can do multiple articles a day, but for single, creator, that's just not doable. So anyhow, Myeon Wang, I watched a few movies, never rarely, sometimes always, and Paris Education stood out. Oh, cool. Russian movies are really hard to get. So someone was asking about Mank. Let's talk about Mank. I did watch that. I found it interesting. I don't think I thought it was great, but I enjoyed the fact that it was a movie and it had good parts that I thought that were really good. It had parts I thought a lot of it was kind of self-indulgent. But I really did I enjoyed the fact that it was a movie that was a movie and not part of a franchise, not part of these big giant TV shows. I enjoyed the compact nature. I enjoyed some of the performances. Definitely enjoyed Gary Oldman's performance. I felt Mank was a little too likable. It's like, that guy is so damn likable. Like, everyone loves Mank. Maybe he was like that in real life too, but it felt a little too perfect, about the FEMA joke. Yeah. So yeah, no, but one thing I didn't like about Mank, and I was reading about this, I did not like the sound design. Because I turned it on and I immediately heard the sound, and I was like, "Ooh, something is weird about this." And then I looked it up, and they wanted it to feel like you're watching this in an old movie hall, an old movie theater. So they put in this kind of echo, a little bit of reverb, a little echo, and everything. And I thought that was a little too much stylistically. I think they could tone that down by like half, maybe, because it felt jarring to me to just to see that, to hear that, I guess. So that's the one. I mean, I know it's an artistic decision. I would not have gone that far if I was complaining about it. And also, I felt like the story was a little bit uneven and a little contrived in a certain. It felt hard to kind of understand what the main driving point was, and so it didn't feel quite as. I thought the portrayal of Orson Welles is actually pretty good. Juho asked about the Orson Welles portrayal. Yeah, I thought he came off pretty good. I like the way his voice and like the way the writing came out for Orson Welles, because Orson Welles is probably the person I had the most, reference as far as what he sounded like. So the impression of Orson Welles is pretty good. But yeah, like the ending, I don't know. The ending is, the ending of that felt kind of anticlimactic. It was like Orson Welles storms off. Okay, spoiler. Orson Welles storms off. They win an Oscar. The end. I don't know. I felt like I had to watch the movie in two sittings. I think I was really tired the first time I was sitting down and watch it, so I stopped it right when Mank gives this big giant speech at the Hearst Castle. Again, spoilers. I don't know why. Why would you care about a spoiler about that, right? Ross says spelling for it. I'm not sure what you're referring to there. In audio effects, less is more unless it's surf music. Stranger Sound says. Username like Stranger Sound, you should know. Yeah, Mank. Yep. Yeah, Mank, and it's for Mankiewicz. Herman Mankiewicz is the name. Is the writer for Citizen Kane. But yeah, I mean, Mian wants to have to watch Mank. I don't know, man. I watched like 5 minutes and got kind of bored. I can see that. I can see people getting bored with it. Here's the thing with Mank that's a little bit the reason why I think I liked it more. Because I did some of those videos about the studios, where I talked about some of these people that were in the actual movie. So people like Louis B. Mayer, like what's the Wonder Kid's name, Irving Thalberg. So I've read up a lot about those folks, and I kind of have an impression in my mind who they are. But the way the movie kind of plays with those characters is like they assume you already know who Louis B. Mayer and Irving Thalberg already are. So I think it's a little inaccessible for people that don't have that kind of Hollywood history background. And part of me feels like a dick for saying that. Like I'm sort of some special person because I've read up on Hollywood history. I mean I'm a little more familiar with it, but I feel like if you didn't know like who the heck is Louis B. Mayer? Louis B. Mayer to me is kind of more of a obvious, but Irving Thalberg is a lesser known heavy hitter, but I mean it's extremely important, but not as famous as Louis B. Mayer. But Irving Thalberg, who plays heavily in the movie, and his death is even shown in the movie. No, his funeral is shown in the movie. But yeah, anyhow, again. Getting on to Mank. Talk about Mank. Speaking of music, I didn't like the music of Tenet. Otherwise decent movie. Maybe slightly overrated. Yeah, I agree with you on Tenet as far as being overrated. Yeah, music, I'm not. Tenet felt like... Tenet, obviously, in an era of COVID and theaters not having any ability to make any movies and any money, Tenet was like... Well, you got something. You know, like if we would have had a regular summer season, like Tenet wouldn't have been that. Tenet would have come and gone. It was we made a lot bigger deal out of it than it needed to be. It felt like it's definitely an interesting movie. I think we talked about it last time on this chat where I said the spoiler, the one piece of information I learned on the internet on YouTube from somebody that came up with this explanation. That explanation made so much more sense and was so much more satisfying than what was in the movie. So, oh, he kept searching Menk for M-E-N-K. Yeah, Menk as a Mankiewicz. Oh, Ennio Morricone passed in July. I think I don't remember hearing. I might have remembered that. Mark Finney, thank you for the super chat. Thanks for all you do. Number of top 10 YouTube channels. Yay. Your extraordinary ability to teach is extraordinary. Thank you so much. I love hearing that, but I also realize that every YouTuber probably gets that, so I won't let it go to my head, but I appreciate your comment and I appreciate your super chat. Thank you so much. Ennio did good stuff. Yeah, Ennio was Ennio is probably my favorite composer. You know, everyone likes to talk about John Williams, but John Williams can't hold a candle to Ennio Morricone, man. Ennio Morricone, dude. Ross says that script looks like 1,000 pages in the Mank trailer. Yeah. I mean, it's... Okay, so we talked about sound. Let's talk about cinematography for Mank. I thought Mank was a little too heavy on the blacks. I thought the inky blackness. I'm talking about color range. I'm not talking about race here. I'm talking about a little too hard on the shadow, the dark details. A little too crushed for my take. So I felt like it wasn't the black and white. And I think that was purposely done. Again, they wanted you to feel like you're in an old movie theater watching this. Like they pulled this. I think the story was they wanted you to feel like they just pulled this reel out of Scorsese's movie vault. It was sitting right next to Citizen Kane, and there was Mank right next to it. Oh, here it is. Oh, let's watch this. So it's kind of like a Grindhouse treatment, but not Grindhouse. Instead of being Grindhouse, it'd be RKO, right? So yeah. Yeah, but with you, it's true. Oh, thank you. Put that in my ego and smoke it. Yeah, sure. Like, I think I talked about this last minute. Like, I was watching this other YouTube video about, what else? Depth of field. Because that's what I do. I watch nerdy stuff like that. And, like, I was watching this video, and I was going to the and they're saying something about depth of field, and they're like, no, that's wrong. Because he was saying, like, oh, the only thing that matters to depth of field is the distance from the camera and what else is it? Distance? I think whatever, it doesn't matter. He said the only thing that matters is the distance of the camera. Nothing else matters. Well, focal length matters, and the sensor size matters. But he made this big old point, and I was going to the comments like, somebody's got to say something, right? I mean, all the comments are like, no, you're the best teacher. This video explains it perfectly, man. You've completely settled it now. Depth of field, your video is 100% accurate. I'm like, no, it's not right. That's not right. That's not right. So I made a comment. Because I'm a dork and I'm a nerd. So, yeah. I'm a critic. I know stuff. All right. So yeah, there's me complaining about other YouTubers. Complaining about YouTubers. Anyhow, that's all I gotta say on that. That's all I gotta say. I'm just buying time. Just hanging out for a little bit longer. What time is it? Almost 6 o'clock? I gotta get home and make some dinner. Power Mad says I can't watch a movie for learning without getting caught up in it. I agree. Don't try not to. I think, like, I'm trying to say this. At this point in my life, I think what happens to every filmmaker, and I'm going to describe like a life progression for you. When you first start making films, you look at everything and you like, oh man, I see 3-point lighting there. I see, key light. I see fill. I see that technique. I see J-cut. I see, you see every detail, right? And you can't stop noticing it. But eventually, you come to accept it all. And although I'll see a J-cut, and I'll say, it's J-cut. but it doesn't like register like, oh, that's a J cut, Keep doing it. Just keep doing it. I think over time you'll get accustomed to seeing the Matrix, right? You'll be accustomed to seeing underneath all the Matrix, and then you can start seeing the story, and then you can start focusing more on how you feel. Because I think ultimately that's the biggest thing for me is coming down to the feel of it all. If we can get to the point where we're using the feel, how we feel, to guide the craft, and that's what you're seeing right now is the craft. Get past that. So it's all about the emotion, and we manipulate the craft to guide the emotion. I know that's like new age bullshit right there, John. You just whatever. I think it was not to go back to it, talking about 24 frames a second. So everyone gets on my case about, well, why do you like 24? It's only because it's old and nostalgia, right? Like, no, I don't. Like, you guys, the guys that are high frame rate guys, like, well, I like high frame rate because it shows you, it looks more real. And like, that's not the point. I like 24 because it makes me feel something. That's what I want to feel. I want to feel. Like, to me, feeling is way more important than reality. Like, I don't care about reality. Reality is boring. Show me the feel. That's what I'm after. So yeah, I don't know if I made that point properly. I don't think I did, because I'm getting tired. I've had a long week, man. I'm working like 12-hour days for the last 16-hour days for the last 5 days. It's insane. But I do it because I love. It's coming from love. See, now John's just going nuts. You're all just watching me to say something terrible that'll get me canceled. That's all you're doing here. You just want to watch me say something crazy because I'm tired. And I mean, once in a while I have a drink. I had a drink the other night. I had some Fireball. That was good. I had some Fireball. Like, I'm gonna drink some Fireball and work on After Effects. I'm gonna go sleep now. Oh my gosh. Good film absorbs you into it. You forget. Yeah, like HBO's Gotti. HBO's Gotti. It makes you feel that film moved me to a bigger house. Wait, I'm sorry. I said the loud part soft and the soft part loud. Power Mad asks, do you think 24 versus 30 in the animation could make a difference in the feel of it? Yes, it does. Baby Shark. Watch Baby Shark. Baby Shark is the one. Basically, watch all kids animations. If you watch like really young kid animation, and I'm talking about the cheapest variety of animation, like the cheap animation. It's usually done at 30 because it's usually done in real time. It's like real time, stuff. And I think they think that kids like super smooth motion better. But as you get older, as you get to the Pixar level, it's 24. And then there's also like the Rankin and Bass stuff. It's at 12. All the old Christmas animations and the claymation stuff, that's all done in 12. Hey, sounds fun. You should do a video on the philosophy of storytelling in film. I would love to do some more philosophy stuff and talk about some of this stuff. But I wonder, I have to write them up, I guess, because sometimes when I drive to work here in my office, I'm thinking like, I should do a video about this topic, this philosophy, this thing. And problem is, like, if I sit down and write them, I always feel like they're inadequate. I want to sit down and just talk to you guys about them. But maybe what we'll do is we'll talk about it and then I'll write a script out of it or something. Young One says, have I watched his Dark Materials? I've watched the first season and then read the books in the season 2. Oh, cool. I have not seen that one yet. Left Hand Puppetry. Please talk about Babe 2, Pig in the City. Yes, great film. From the creator of Mad Max Fury Road comes Babe 2, Pig in the City. Probably the best sequel of all time. One of the best sequels of all time. Maybe Godfather 2 level. It's pretty damn good. Babe 2, Pig in the City is a fantastic movie. It really is. Babe, obviously from the man that brought you Mad Max Fury Road. Mad Max series. All that stuff. It is Babe. It just goes to show you, like, George Miller is a great example of, hey, stop typecasting people. Stop saying like, oh, he's an action director, he can't direct a comedy. Of course he can. Look at George Miller. Of course, that's the beautiful thing about being an artist, is being able to do all kinds of different things. I hate this idea of like typecasting. Oh, you stay in your lane. You can only do this. You can only do that. Anyhow, do you think Avid is done? No. They've got Hollywood in a grasp. They're not done. Is Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy a good film, and why? I don't particularly care for it. I think it's kind of a dull movie, honestly. Sorry. Wrath of Khan is the best sequel of all time, says Mark Finley. Not a bad choice. Not a bad choice. Although, let's see. Addams Family Values is actually pretty good, too. Addams Family Values is probably a better sequel than it ever deserved to be. Man, I miss Addams Family. Something like that. Yeah. James Yule says, me too. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy has a really interesting shot in it, if you're ever curious about it. There is a single shot. Again, this is talking about craft, right? I noticed it, right? I noticed it like, whoa, that's a weird looking shot. I thought it was a green screen effect. It was like a 2,000 millimeter lens. Like insane. This absolutely insane lens. Gary Oldman and this other guy talking about, and there's an aircraft landing or taking off right behind them. And you're like, that looks like a green screen shot. No, it was like a 2,000 freaking millimeter lens. They wanted that much compactness in the space. But otherwise, I thought the movie was just dull. It was terribly dull. Sam Jameson asks, he mentions recording a string quintet. Would you be please talk about particular challenges of recording strings? Yeah, especially when you're recording them outdoors. That's even more fun. I'm not particularly I'm not a superstar like audio recording. I just put a mic near the strings, man. I use a Rode NT 57s. They look like little, they look like cigars, silver cigars, basically. And SM57, I believe, would be a good choice if you're going for like a more traditional microphone, but not the it's more of a lipstick microphone rather than the bowl vocal mic. But you just get that near the string, put it where they're holding it, just put it right about there. Give them some wiggle room. Obviously, they don't want to be keep hitting their heads into it, right? And that's a good one. And then for the bass, just use like a larger diaphragm microphone would be fine. I mean, I use what I have, honestly. I happen to have I think I use this broadcaster mic that I'm using right now. So you can see that. There it is. I just put that in front of the mic. To me, at least when I'm not recording $multi-million recording studio stuff. So to me, it's all about microphone placement. Microphone placement is the most important thing. And then the mic, the mic is next. The mic is next on the list. Like, that's the thing. You can buy a $30 lav mic, and it will sound good if you get really close to your subject matter and you control it properly. So you can do a lot with basic stuff. And James uses, I fell asleep in the theater. I'm guessing you're talking about Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. I'm sorry, what? All right. We're having fun now. Here in Greece, 25 is 25 frames a second. Even expensive shows, anything higher is considered lower quality because of the cheap Mexican soap opera feel. Yeah, good old 25. Tinker Tailor looks good, but not a good movie based on the story. Too much plot had to be cut out. Oh, okay. Maybe that's what it was. Paddington 2. Thank you. I forgot about Paddington. Power Mads reminds us all that Paddington 2 is, in fact, the best sequel of all time, according to Rotten Tomatoes. And I would go so far as probably objectively true. In fact, you can look at any textbook out there, any physics textbook, you can just pull it out, and it will say Paddington 2 is indeed the best sequel of all time. And I do really think it is. It's a fantastic movie. Such a sweet movie. Paddington 2 is one of those movies I wish I could have worked on somehow, because that feeling, like it's got to be a movie like you feel like everyone on board is like, man, this is going to be good. This is good, and it really is good. It is such a heartwarming, like anybody can be proud to say, hey, my son worked on Paddington 2. My other son's a doctor. He makes real money, but at least my son worked on Paddington 2. It makes up for the fact that he sleeps on the couch. Anyhow, Stranger Sound says, it's not what you use, it's how you use it. That's what I told her. She did not believe me. I'm talking about the string quartet. I'm not talking. What do you think I'm talking about? Yeah. You guys are disgusting. You guys are filthy, dirty minds. It's not the size of the bait; it's how you wiggle your worm. That's what they. That's exactly right. Yeah, that's right. Sam Jason says, "Thank you for his explanation. Performing outdoors is challenging, even not so much for a trumpet, though not so much. Contrary, a trumpet playing is very bad outdoors. It sucks because brass instruments, for the most part, sound good when they have reverb, and when you're outdoors, it just sounds like you're in a marching band. It's like nothing, bop 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 bop, just nothing. There's no sound. It just evaporates. It's empty. But if you're in a hall, boom 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 boom, you got that beautiful reverb. That's when brass really. Thank you, Rick, for your super chat. You didn't say anything. $5, but thanks though. So is bokeh a thing when it comes to art? Like bokeh, like the blur out of focus blurry stuff. Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. Look at the works of Starry Night. That's bokeh, basically. Bokeh. I'm never going to be able to do that forever, right? I'm not going to hold the real Japanese bokeh pronunciation. And then the video I watch it's bokeh in Tokyo, and it's like bokeh in another province. So I'm not going to say bokeh. I'm an American. I'm going to say it Americanese. Bokeh. Bokeh. Never mind. Rick H. Oh, thank you. Let me talk. Yeah, because I'll hang myself that way. Just letting me talk. See? We're going to let him talk. Let him talk. Talk his way out of this one, eh? Mark Finley says, when I was in college, I sold roses out of a trunk of my car on the side of the highway and practiced tuba the entire time waiting for the... I love it. Oh, that's a wonderful story. Okay, well, maybe not wonderful for you, but I would love to see, like, hey, get some roses from that tuba player. Boom, boom, boom. Then boom, 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 boom. Roses. Yeah. Bokeh is the past. Donne is the future. Sure. Anyhow. So it is coming up. Oh my gosh, we've been in here for about 80 minutes here. So yeah, if you want the heck, if you have any questions, I'll just hit up a couple more chats, and then I'll probably call it a night and go home and watch third episode of The Expanse. And maybe play, I don't know if we'll play some VR or not. Maybe do some flight simulator. I haven't done that in a while. Do some flight sim. Fly around a little bit. Mark Finney, good practice. I got my pick in the paper a couple times as a tuba player who sells roses by the freeway. I love it. I love that story. I gotta go. Hey, Gumby, happy Christmas. Maybe we'll probably do one more chat before Christmas. I think middle of next week, I think I'll get on board. Maybe I'll bring my trumpet on board. I'll talk a little about that. I have, since the pandemic started and all my music stuff ended, I lost interest in music. I just completely... I used to be in like several bands. I played trumpet for the local community college, and all that stuff went away. And I literally just didn't want to touch the horn. Just didn't want to touch it all. I played once in July for my music director, my high school music director, who had surgery, who unfortunately passed away a few months after that. But that was kind of fun. But I have not touched, and I have no. I don't know. Part of me doesn't want to go back to music. I don't really. I think when the pandemic happened, I was sort of kind of getting over. I didn't like music. Music became a chore, and because I felt like I was doing a lot of music stuff, and it wasn't like I didn't feel like it was satisfying. It felt like we're just doing stuff, and it's like it's okay. And you gotta admit, like sometimes. Some of the stuff that I did was frustrating because people were not of my caliber. And I know I'm not being like a dick about it, but it's like I wasn't being challenged, and I felt like I was just wasting my time in rehearsals with other people who were just not even there yet. Like I didn't feel like I was pushing myself. So I think, so when the pandemic happened, I was like, okay, well, nothing to do now, so I kind of gave up to it. But I think like recently I watched, I was on Reddit, and there was this one girl who was singing and her name was Marina, the bass player. I saw her, and I was like, and she was just singing with the bass and just singing her, and like she was so good. And part of me is like, I want to get back into music. I want to get back into music that's joyful, that's music that's, you know, I don't want. I don't want to just do music that's masturbatory. Yes, I'm going to use that word. Because I felt like a lot of stuff I was doing was just like, we're only playing because we all like it. I want to make music that other people can enjoy, that brings joy, rather than just brings joy to us only. That's what sucks. I don't know. I wanted to express that, so I'm glad you guys, 35 of you guys that are still on here listening to me rant, can hear a little bit about that. Yeah, I don't know. So I'm still in a weird funky place with music. Funk, Rick H says. Still in a funky place with music. I mean, I wanted to learn how to play bass. I got myself a bass. I'm not sitting out there. I wanted to learn a little bit of bass. Maybe I'll learn to play bass like that Marina girl. She was so good. You know, I'd love to be able to do some more singing. My singing sucks, if you've been watching for a while, you found out earlier. But I'd love to do some more of that, and more music that's from a place of joy rather than from just like annoyingness, something like that. Anyhow, there's nothing wrong with masturbatory. I agree with that. You gotta self-medicate, man. You gotta self-medicate. Yeah, it's hard to sing and play at the same time. It's hard to do anything and play. Even like I was working with an accordion, and it's hard for me even to get my both hands to go in different, bump. I can't do that. So, we got a production question in here just to break up the emotional, heartfelt speaking here. But Nick Manny says, what budget audio recorder or XLR micro phantom power would you use? I have a Rode NTG2 and I want to be able to record the ambient sounds. Probably a Zoom H4n. Sure, Zoom's H4n sounds good. Zoom or Tascam. Look at Tascam if you want an alternative for Zoom. Tascam is an American company too, so you won't have to deal with like weird Chinese stuff. But Tascam, they have a TIAC, I believe is the name of the parent company. I don't think they're still based in LA. So anyhow, yeah. Well, maybe next week we can do some Christmas songs. I'll break out the trumpet and we'll go in the studio and play a little bit of music maybe. I think that'd be fun. Just kind of, we'll do it low key. We'll do it not low key. We'll do it low key. We'll have a little bit of fun. Maybe do something a little different next week. Alrighty, guys. I'm going to go home. I'm going to make some dinner, watch The Expanse, and then probably have a drink. Why not? It's been a long week. Alrighty, guys. Thanks for hanging out, and we will see you guys later. Bye-bye.